Welcome back to the IndiePro Summit for another exciting video. Today, in this video, actually, we're talking about customer culture and whether yours is awesome, toxic, or somewhere in between. And we're talking about this with Alison McGrath, who has been living and breathing this customer culture stuff for a very long time in business culture. Welcome, Alison. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm great, thanks.
That's awesome, and it's really good to have you here today. If you don't know much about Alison, she loves her work. She's been worked as a senior management. She's had her own business with 26 full-time employees and up to 300 casuals at one stage for over 25 years. So I think she's got the cred to be able to talk about all things business and customer culture and business culture today. She's also the author of, I'll get the name right, Getting the Right Balance, a simple guide for people and management, guide to people management and recruitment. Yeah, sorry, I'll do that again. Getting the Right Balance, a simple guide to people management and recruitment. Sorry about that, Alison. She's also a contributor to smallville.com.au, market culture accredited global partner, and she's also a business coach and human resource specialist. Is there anything you wanted to add to that pretty impressive resume?
No, I think you've done a very good job there. Thank you.
Yes, right. Sorry about fumbling over the title of the book. Can you just tell us briefly what why you wrote the book and what it's sort of about?
The book really is written around issues that I faced in my business. And it really is always in business, there's always headaches once you start employing people. And so I've written about some funny things, some not so funny things, and some really sad things that happened along the way. And I just want other people not to make some mistakes that I made, plus give them some advice.
Excellent, excellent. Did it take you long to write?
No, once you decide, I mean, it's really hard thinking about doing it, but once you do it, you have to be very set in how many words per day, and it took me 30 days, 1,000 words a day. And wow. But then all the hard parts after that, really. But yeah, sure. I had an amazing mentor in Andrew Griffiths, so I was pretty lucky there.
Excellent. We'll have to get you back one day to talk about how you wrote your book. That'd be pretty cool.
Well,
but for right now, we want to talk about customer culture. And you do, I'll link down below, but you can, people can contact you via email for a customer-centric self-assessment. You'll probably mention that a little bit later in your presentation, but I'll get you to set up that presentation now, if you like, and then we'll ask you some questions at the end. And if you guys watching and listening have any questions of your own, please put them down into the comment box below. But I think it's all good to go. Over to you, Alison.
Well, thank you. So at the end, it's all going to make sense, I would hope. But how can you stay relevant, lift your performance, grow your business, and stand out in the crowded, noisy marketplace where your services and mine and your products are increasingly looking the same as everybody else's? There's one single most powerful predictor of sustained business success, something that we're all looking for. And it simply is customer-centric culture. It's that vital ingredient in every successful business, is to create a sustainable customer culture. And I'm not just talking about having that customer focus, but an embedded culture where you and every other single person in your business shares the same customer-focused vision. There must be an unwavering belief that what's best for the customer is best for your business. And everything I'm telling you here today is based on fact, some hard evidence. It's not just fluffy, be nice to customers that I've made up. It's evidence. It's based on 10 plus years of research, testing, measuring, benchmarking, then documented. The research started in Sydney, then to Silicon Valley, and is now worldwide and is ongoing. Do you know that out of the hundreds of businesses researched, 91% of these businesses said that they are customer-centric, but only 10% of their customers actually agreed with them. There's so many business owners out there getting this wrong, and that's why I've chosen to explore this with you today. So what's true customer centricity? Firstly, understand that customer culture must be embedded in your business as a discipline. It's about having shared behaviours and skills that you constantly refine. It's the way you do things. A habit of your customer focus. Make it the habit, how we do things around here. And providing superior value to your clearly defined target market. Just a side note to that, I'm assuming you know the importance of having a niche target market, because that's a whole other conversation. Now back to providing superior value to your target market. You have to know the needs of your customers. That's what do they want, not what you think they want and then respond to them. You need to look at both their current and their future needs. So customer centricity also includes the discipline of knowing when a customer's needs just don't align with your services. You need to be able to tell that person that you're not able to assist them, but try and provide them a solution, possibly a referral, even to one of your competitors. And that's when you're displaying customer-centric culture to not only your customers, but also to your non-customers. Can you see how that can build your reputation? Great examples of large businesses that have got great customer-centric culture are Apple, Costco, Salesforce.com, and Amazon. Since Amazon's founding 22 years ago, Amazon's reached near mythic status, and by providing just superior customer experiences. The Amazon founder, Jeff Bezos, says, "I define Amazon by our big ideas, which are customer centricity, putting the customer at the center of everything we do." Improving your customer experience really can be quite difficult, and it's something that you've got to continually evolve. And one of the major obstacles is to try and translate that internal vision that you've got for your business. You know what you want, and it's what you talk about with your family, in your staff meetings, maybe with your business coach or partner. But then it's putting it into action for that superior customer experience. I'd like to share with you a story. Before we do, I just want to check back with you. Hi, I'm just checking back that everyone's still with me. Yep. Okay, so hopefully, let's go back to that customer experience. And I'm back. So improving customer experience, as I said, can be really difficult, and it just continually evolves. But I'm going to share a story with you now. Some of you may have already heard it. Once upon a time, not that long ago, a little girl visited Disneyland in California. Sadly, while she was there, she dropped her favourite doll off a ride and fell over a massive fence into a mud puddle. Mum and Dad couldn't retrieve it. Every parent's nightmare. They told the ride attendants, but knew there was probably nothing they could do about poor little Dolly. They would have the poor little darling crying all night about her dolly. When the Disney park staff actually managed to finally retrieve the doll, it was a mess. But what they did to the doll was amazing. They made a new outfit, gave it a bath, a new hairstyle, and even took photos of it with other Disney dolls, and then returned it to their little owner late that evening. Pure magic was how the mum describe the doll's return. What may be most remarkable about this fairy tale ending, which, by the way, has become part of Disney's institutional folklore, but what's remarkable is what didn't occur. The theme park didn't panic, nor consult a manual on what to do in a situation, or anxiously wait to speak to a supervisor or manager to make sure they wouldn't botch up their response to a small but real-life crisis for one of their little customers. That's because, at least in this case, the team's understanding of what needed to be done for the young customer grew automatically from a systemic cultural emphasis that Disney puts on their customer frontline service, and that such devotion pays dividends. Do you know that recent research states emotionally engaged customers are typically 3 times more likely to recommend a product and to purchase it again? So think about the Disney story and think about what are the things you do really well around your customer service. This should come to you immediately without even thinking about it. And if it doesn't, well, I think we need to talk about that a little bit later. What can you do to introduce into your business to make being customer-centric a strategic priority? To stand out in the crowded, noisy marketplace you have, to make sure you stand out for the right reason. I think the entire world has now witnessed one of the most extreme examples of what can go wrong in a business that has lost sight of its purpose. That's it, the United Global Airlines, that handled a relatively routine situation that probably happens multiple times a day across the US. They, as do other airlines, oversell airline tickets to make sure that their planes are full so to stay profitable. But when the system impacts customers, it becomes a true test of their customer-centric culture. Do you think they thought about the customer or the profits? I'm sure by now you've all seen the viral recordings of what looked initially like the removal of a potential terrorist. It was appalling what they did to this paying passenger. United Airlines chose its policies and procedures over doing the right thing for its customers. Clearly, there was an upper limit on what was available to be offered to make the situation right for the customers. United claims they offered $1,000 to passengers to take up another flight, but there was no takers. So instead of upping the incentive compensation to a point where some passengers felt like it was a fair deal, they just decided to pick a few passengers based on their frequent flyer status. So on that flight, 3 passengers left peacefully, although clearly unhappy, and of course that one refused, which resulted in the social media frenzy after the video appeared showing that poor passenger being forcefully dragged off the plane. Then, as if that wasn't enough, the CEO, Oscar Munoz, escalated matters with his reaction. His initial response was an apology for having to re-accommodate these customers, hoping that would just diffuse the anger of the situation. However, internally, he sent a memo to his employees defending the crew's actions, calling the passenger disruptive and belligerent, and praising his staff for going above and beyond. What the hell was he thinking? Protecting his employees? I wonder. Or I believe trying to protect the airline's reputation. This CEO reinforced poor policies and culture that definitely does not have the culture of the customers first. And it took 2 more days, along with many more downloads of the viral video, before the CEO decided to accept responsibility for this disgraceful incident. He said, quote, "I continue to be disturbed by what happened on this flight, and I deeply apologise to the customer forcibly removed and to all the customers on board. No one should ever be mistreated this way." Boom, boom, too late. The value of the airline at that point in time had fallen a staggering $255 million. as a result of just this one incident with the bad press and social media storming around it. No doubt United will lose customers, and so it deserves to. Frequent flyer members are cutting up their cards and actually posting them in. What happens next in their business journey is a question of leadership and culture, so we'll just see what happens. But what should have happened? If they had a customer-centric culture, all employees would have or should have a customer-centric mindset. They would have been empowered to do what is right by the customer, then this would not have happened. So I want you to understand the importance of putting the customer at the centre of your business. Create and nurture a mindset of what's best for the customer is best for the business. Add this to your business plan, put it on your wall, include it in the values of your business. Dr. Lyndon Brown researched the studies behind everything that I'm showing you today. He undertook years research into customer-centric cultures and then documented all the work into the Customer Imperative, the book that won Book of the Year 2015. He studied the best of the best, Google, Amazon, Salesforce.com, Zappos, to name but a few. And I'm fortunate in being able to work with the gentleman as an accredited global partner where we can actually measure customer centricity in business and then provide solutions for the business owner. And there's 8 dimensions of customer centricity. The result of their work is they developed the 8 dimensions, then developed a tool to measure the disciplines and benchmark them. And I'm very briefly going to touch on those 8 disciplines now. Customer insight, and that's to have a deep understanding of your customer needs and the drivers of their behaviour at a level well beyond what your customers themselves can explain. You gather the information from what customers tell you and from what you observe customers doing. Look at any frustrations that they're having using particular products, services, even other companies. You need to gather knowledge of how your customers think and act before, during, and after their purchase. And having customer foresight, that's really about customer-inspired innovation, the extent to which you can anticipate emerging customer needs, recognise those unspoken needs, and then take action to satisfy them. Former Apple co-founder Steve Jobs got to the essence of this competency, imagining solutions to problems even customers didn't know they were experiencing. And then competitor insight. This means monitor, understand, and respond to your to your competitors' strengths and weaknesses. Be on your game. Know what they are doing and what they're not doing. And competitor foresight. This is knowing who your new competitors are, who's hitting your market or may become potential competitors. Google does this well, and in doing so strengthens their competitive advantage. They're always looking around the corner for what's next. They've stayed one step ahead of competitors and have purchased more than 100 companies over the last 10 years to make sure they're preferred search company. You need to know what's going on because disruption is real and it's here now. And peripheral vision, what are the trends out there in the marketplace? You need to be watching carefully, both in the large and small market. Just look at the demise of Kodak and Nokia. There's new shifts in the market constantly. So please, again, be on your game. And it can be set off by almost anything. Mega competition, change in regulations, shifts in customers' behaviour, disruptive technology. Keep an eye on what's happening in our Australian market whilst Amazon's setting up shop here. There's going to be some massive changes there. And empowerment. This means allow those that work for you to feel comfortable in being able to help, to do something that's best for the customer and not have to wait for your approval. How many times have you heard, I'll need to speak to my supervisor? Why on earth don't they empower their staff? The businesses that stand out do empower their staff. And collaboration is done so poorly in many large corporations. Have you ever been transferred around department by department and no one knowing what the hell is going on? People working in their own little silos. To collaborate means to work with and share knowledge and assist each other, that true one team approach. And strategic alignment. And it's all about knowing your vision and the strategic direction that you want to go. Then looking at what you do every day in your business and make sure that everything is aligning. Often when I'm working with clients, I find that there's a big gap between what business owners are doing and what's required to execute to work towards those goals. I'm amazed that there's so many people in business that don't even have a clear map of where, how, and what they want. So the benefits of each of those dimensions in your business is shown on the chart in front of you. And you'll see that having just strategic alignment and cross-functional collaboration, you're going to increase customer satisfaction, your innovation, you're going to have new product success, your profit's going to grow, your profitability will just go through the roof, and sales revenue will grow. It's time for you to leverage what Amazon has learned works and what doesn't work. It doesn't matter what industry or business you're in or what size, you are still competing in finding and retaining customers. I'm sure a lot of you still believe you are truly customer-centric. I encourage you to test your assumptions and then take action. You don't want to be the one that's crowded out of the marketplace. If you have no customers, guess what? You've got no business. If you'd like to receive a free, no obligation self-assessment developed by Market Culture on your own customer centricity, just email me and I would be delighted to give you a copy of it and then talk you through it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Alison. That was excellent. I took amazing amounts of notes then, so I'll run through a few of the things that I thought of and some of the questions that I had. I'd like to stem from I'm glad you used the United Airlines example, because I think it's still pretty topical now, and I think it's going to be emblazoned on people's minds for a long time. I was appalled by what they did, and I seriously cannot understand a business, no matter how big, in 2017 treating customers like that. It just beggars belief. I still just can't believe it, and not even treating someone like that, but understanding that technology is available, that people can film it.
Absolutely, just insane.
Yeah, it baffles me, but I'm sure, like, there's so many examples of this going on. Something came to mind. A bit of a recent fan of Gordon Ramsay and his Kitchen Nightmare, and there was an episode a couple of years ago around a bakery or a bakehouse or something, and it was this married couple, and I can't remember the exact name, but you could probably Google it. And they just were yelling and screaming at customers on camera.
Wow.
And it just amazes me how people can still act like that and still run a business.
But the sad thing is that we can all probably, take 5 minutes, and we've named 5 businesses that are giving really bad service. And they just have no idea what customer centricity is. Yeah,
it's funny that you talk about customer centricity, because and that statistic where 91% of businesses think that they're doing it. And I think maybe the problem lies with the definition of customer centricity, where I think a lot of people in businesses probably think, oh, well, I'm really, happy and I'm serving the customer well when they're in the shop. But it goes way beyond that. Like, it's not just good customer service. It's really structuring your business around your customers.
Of every dimension of it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And even, for instance, you might have accounts out the back that have no customer facing at all. However, if somebody rings up about their account, has some sort of query, if they get that crabby old so-and-so out the back, that's customer centricity. It's just everything they've done at the front is lost.
I think it's the same with, and marketing ties in with this. And one of the things I learned very early on with marketing was that everybody is a marketer within the company, because marketing is all about the touches you have with customers and or with anyone, like just people just become aware of you, and so everyone is actually marketing it all the time. So it's that's the kind of stuff that you need to realize. And like you said, it comes down to trust. It's trusting your staff by empowering them to be able to take care of situations. Good stuff. So for people who don't want to become the next United, with their small little businesses or their freelance startups or whatever, how do you begin to instill that culture from the very beginning? Because obviously if you've reached a point where your business is kind of maybe toxic or getting towards that, I guess that's a separate question. But if you're just starting out, or you're just building, or it's just you and maybe a couple of people that you employ part-time or whatever, how do you begin to build that culture that will lead you through? I mean, I know you touched on it about having vision and all that, but is there kind of a few steps to take now, and is now the time to think about that?
Oh, absolutely. It really is. Culture always comes from the top and trickles down. So you live and believe, you live and act the way you believe it's going to be like. So you need to be honest to yourself. If you want to have true customer centricity, you've got to live and breathe it. They're the words I was looking for. Live and breathe it all the time. So you demonstrate to your team and you build trust with your team. And when they're seeing you do what's expected, that you're transparent with them, not everything, but in most things, you're transparent and you're honest and you're authentic, they're going to be the same too. And we've found that if you employ somebody later down the track that doesn't fit that mold, because they just don't fit in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in that you choose your own customers, and I think you sort of touched on that a little bit about when you come across a customer who might not fit the culture or the ideals that you have for your business, who might be asking you to do things that you don't really want to do, or you're not feel comfortable with, is just to go, oh, sorry, I can't help you. Here's someone that might be able to help you. So I mean, you can do the same thing with your staff, I guess. If a staff member isn't working out, I think you're totally right into not worrying about. You've got to put your vision in the business first, as opposed to that customer, and same with that staff member, but also with customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the culture starts right from the start of the business, and it's not easy though. And one person in a business that steps into a business is going to change the dynamics, and so it's work constantly that you have to apply to your business. And remember that you need all the different personalities in a business, because that's the only way the business will grow. But you need to embed the different disciplines around customer service, and remember, it's not just about being nice to the customers. It really is, an employer needs to be nice to the employees. They need to give all the tools and the training to the employees across the board, so that everyone has the same mindset. And it really needs to be built around the 8 dimensions of customer centricity.
Yeah, I mean, there's the old quote: "Take care of your customer. Take care of your staff, and you take care of your customers." I guess that's involved in that. The other thing I was going to touch on, actually, just before we move on, do do you think writing something down helps? Like, you know, a code of...
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually will measure each different dimension, and then together you work out, well, you might be very good at it, and just go, congratulations, and let's keep working on that and keeping it very positive. Or we look at why don't we have alignment across the different people in the business? Why aren't we sharing information? And then you work out why, put steps in place to overcome it. And then that can be one of the values, is that we value each other, and we choose to share our knowledge and our agree to collaborate together, so that people actually understand what it means. And writing it down can become one of the values. And we actually have our employee manuals that we create with the client, and we actually put that in an employee manual so that it's owned by everyone, that they know what it's all about.
Yeah, cool. Okay. I mean, I guess good leadership has its own reward with that. Like you need, for the top-down effect, you need to have those people leading from the front and doing the right thing in the first place. Yeah, which obviously in United probably wasn't the case.
Well, that's
given
and the larger, the more complex it is. Simple as that.
Yeah. This isn't really a new concept. Like I have read a book called, I don't know if you know it. It's a fairly old one. It came out in the 97, I think, called Customer Intimacy, and it was by Fred Wiesemer.
No, I don't.
Probably, yeah. I actually bought it secondhand on a whim, and it's one of the most influential books I've actually read, and it's really talking about, a lot of this, what you've sort of said around moving from customer service then onto customer centricity, and then he suggests another move to customer intimacy, where you actually become partners almost with your customers, and you understand them and know them so well that you're actually almost like the equivalent of best friends, and just doing things for them and doing things for each other in a mutual partnership, something similar to what you would do when you have a partnership with another business.
Okay.
It's a really cool book. I'll link to it if I can find it online down below, because I think it's a great book. And that one that you mentioned in your presentation looked pretty cool as well. So I'll link to that. I'll link to everything that you mentioned down below as well. So one of the big things that I'll start this question with what I think. Like, I'm not a big believer in spending a lot of time on competitors, and I know you spend a bit of time around thinking about who your competitors are and what they're up to, and I guess probably more broadly the industry. How much time do you think that a business should dedicate to that? The reason I kind of not do it is because I would rather spend that time building my own business as opposed to wondering what everyone else is doing. Like, I totally understand what you were getting at with understanding what your competitors are doing, and therefore you can find a competitive advantage. But how much time do you think that businesses should spend on that?
Well, if you haven't been doing it initially, I'd put in a good few hours to really research. You can do a lot of the research online anyway, but it's more really having your ear to the ground, having everyone around you also bringing back information to you. If it's part of the culture, they're out there in the marketplace and you can hear what's going on. If it's trying to think, if it's a product that you're going to purchase, that's easy. But if you don't know what's happening out there, you don't know whether you're actually still relevant. So you've got to have some.
So is it more about understanding the industry more broadly, or is it, or would you pick, certain competitors that you think that you align pretty closely with? Or
I would do both.
Okay.
Yeah, when you do your SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, etc. You know, you're going to want to know who your actual competitors are, and you actually look at them and what they're doing, and recognise their strengths and weaknesses. But you need to know broadly as well. With the disruption in technology now, for instance, you need to really, know what's going on, because, they're competitors that are going to decide they're going to do what you do and just cut you out.
How do you, just on that disruption, it seems to be a bit of a theme with this summit, with the speakers, and I mean, I guess it's very topical, and it's something that I am really interested in. Where do you see established businesses with this age of disruption that's going on, and do you see freelancers and small enterprises coming along and just disrupting the big guys to the point where
absolutely, we've certainly got it as a small business, and even as a solopreneur and a small business, we're agile. We know what's going on. We can see it happening, and once you need to change, we can pivot really quickly, whereas the larger you are, the longer it takes to do that pivot. You have to go through all the different steps. You have to have everybody on board. Sometimes to make a decision to go up level by level by level, it can be over 12 months. It can be 2 years before a decision's really made. And that's when the agile, smaller businesses and solopreneurs can jump in and take some of that market. And if you've got all these small businesses taking chunks of the market, all of a sudden they're going to be in strife. And then, what's going to happen then? They're going to then be in panic mode, and they're going to do retrenchments, and it just goes on and on and on. So we have got an absolute advantage now in this market.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I tend to agree with everything you just said. The other thing I guess I want to touch on is around knowing your customers, and creating customer personas or ideal customer profiles, whatever you want to call them. How important, is that pretty much the initial step? I know that was I think that was step number one in your presentation. Is that something that you just cannot get past? Is that before you do anything else, that's what you should be focusing on? Is that how you see it?
When you're ready to, yeah, you do. You do. How can you create something if you don't know who it's for? You can have your framework, but the framework, and you trial, you're not going to get it right first off. So you're going to trial it, but who are you going to trial it on? You need to know, you can't be everything to everyone, although a lot of people try to be. But if you've got that avatar up there in front of you, and that's who I'm working towards, and that's who you focus on. Most definitely first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big believer in, for a long time when now I'm focused more on the digital advertising side of things. But when I first started my business, that was the number one thing I'd say to the first question I'd ask clients, do you know who your customers are? And half the time they'd just say, women. You're just like, okay, we need to do some work on this before we go any further. So I just wanted to get your take on that, because I think it is completely, a first step with any sort of marketing or even advertising. It's just understanding who you're actually.
Or it's called lay and pray otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's great that you feel that way. I think I'm out of questions. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or maybe just a quick takeaway?
Just embed a customer-centric culture into your organisation, whether there's one of you or 100 of you. It's just so critical. Follow the steps. Take advantage of doing a self-assessment, and I'm really happy to have conversations. If somebody just wants, 5 minutes in my ear, happy to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of this summer, Alison. I really appreciate it. You can find out more about Alison on her website and through her book and all the other things that she's involved in, all linked down below. Check it out. Thank you so much, Alison, and stay with me for another, some more videos coming up in the summit over the next couple of days. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.